Well, it's official. Simon Lizotte has signed with MVP, so the speculators were once again right on the money with that one. This is a 10-year deal that will have him with MVP through 2032, likely making it one of the largest, if not the largest, disc golf contracts in history. We don't know the specifics yet. We only know the length of it, but whether or not we'll ever know the dollar amount is to be seen. The vast majority of contracts we never know. There's only a few exceptions like Paul, Ricky, Kristen, Kona. Those four are the only ones that come to mind. Every other professional contract, we never know the dollar amount. And so I'm expecting with Simon and MVP being the two parties, both pretty modest respectively, I don't see the dollar amount getting out, but it doesn't mean we can't speculate on it. So as far as contracts we can compare it to, there's really only two options: PaulmcBeth's 10-year, $10 million deal and rickywysocki's 4-year, $4 million deal. Simon does have an advantage in two ways. Number one, his contract's newer. Sports contracts tend to get larger over time, assuming the sport isn't shrinking, and disc golf's no exception to that. And then number two, Paul and Ricky helped to set a benchmark for what top-tier MPO players could demand. So by Paul getting $1 million per year, he helped Ricky to demand $1 million per year. And now I think the two of them have set Simon up to start that conversation at $1 million per year. So now to the most important part of all of this, marketability. How well can you help a company move discs? I think Simon, when you look at on-course and off-course marketability, he is more marketable than Ricky and maybe more marketable than Paul, although that is very close. On course, he's coming off of a career year where he had 4 Tour Series wins. He was in the mix a whole bunch. I think he was the best player throughout the year. And even prior to that, before he was winning, before he was really in the mix for the past couple of years, he still had a massive following. Some of the biggest galleries, some of the most post-round coverage views. And it's not just the Simon lines, it's not just that he's really likable, but he just makes disc golf look good in a way that very few people can. For me, it's him, it's Eagle, Calvin, Paul. Those are the ones when I watch them throw, I think, so that's how it's supposed to be done. And that resonates with a lot of people. I think most people, when they think about how a backhand should look, they think about Simon. And so even though he doesn't have those big accolades like Paul, 6 Worlds, 3 USDGC, or Ricky with the 2 Worlds, I think he's still on that same level when you look at it from a manufacturer's perspective. Yes, he doesn't have those big wins, but he has eyes on him. Your apparel, your logo is going to be seen. Your discs are going to be seen because whether he's in the mix or he's down near the bottom, he is still going to have people watching him. And so for that reason, I think he's unrivaled in the on-course marketability by everyone except pretty much those two, Paul and Ricky. And then off the course, I think he's unrivaled by anyone. His social media presence, Instagram, YouTube, every time he posts, people watch it. Every time he promotes a disc release, it sells out. And the same could somewhat be said for Eagle, but I think Simon's even to a greater extent able to move discs, although they both sell out. It seems like it will. And the reason for it, I mean, not to say that Paul and Ricky don't meet the same criteria, but Simon is just such a likable guy and so humble, so goofy on these videos that he resonates with players, but then he's got the like all world level skill, and when it comes together, it just makes for a really good online presence that, like I said, I don't think it's rivaled by anyone else in disc golf. So from MVP's perspective, I look at all of that. Not only does Simon benefit from being the newest one up with one of these big contracts, but you look at how marketable Simon is, and I mean, I honestly think he could ask for almost any price and probably get something close to it. So my prediction, if he didn't take a team-friendly deal, I think he got at least $1 million per year. I wouldn't be surprised if it's $1.5 or $2 million, because MVP will get their money back on that. They could do a disc release with 20,000, 50,000. That thing will sell out. So I wish we could find out one day, just to know for sure, and for Simon to help the next big pro who's up to get a lot of money, which someone like Gannon, I think he's up next year. That's someone that I don't think will get Simon level money, but could really benefit from another massive contract dropping like this. But time will tell. Only other thing MVP related to mention is shout out to James Conrad. That shot is the only reason that Simon was ever able to join MVP, which is just crazy to think about. But that shot truly changed their company forever and allowed them to sign the top free agent that we've seen in, well, Ricky was last year, but obviously since Ricky, no one's come close, and even then, Simon's arguably the biggest free agent we've seen since Paul went to discraft. Now, with all of that being said, the other deals that came through since my last video, so Austin Hannum has signed a new one-year deal with DGA, so joining Katrina over there. Seems like a good pickup for DGA. Austin, don't expect him to win any events, but he does have a following and he can push near the top of the leaderboard when he's on. Discraft has a whole bunch of updates, so I won't get into it to the level of Simon's contract, but it is a pretty big deal that Discraft managed to sign Anthony Barela for 2 years. Anthony is one of those players that really everyone knows. Like, if he could put it all together, he's going to win a lot of events, and he just has not really been able to put it all together yet. It's for a variety of reasons, but we all know he absolutely bombs at forehand and backhand, maybe unrivaled in that department besides Eagle or someone like that. But a really good signing for Discraft if he can get it going, because he is a dark horse in that sense, that if he puts it together, he could be like a top 5 player next year, and I don't think it would surprise anyone, but it's just yet to be determined if it will happen. Next up, Ezra, good extension there. Ezra, I think, well liked, does pretty well on tour. I think he, like Anthony, is still waiting to see if he puts it all together and starts winning some events, but a good extension for them. I think he's, like I said, well liked, and I'm sure his tour series move well. Next up, Corey Ellis, another guy. We got three signings here that could definitely pan out if they can put it all together. Corey was so close multiple times last year, and if he continues on that same trajectory, he could win 2 or 3 Tour Series events this year. Another good extension for them. And then lastly, Aaron Gossage, runner-up at Worlds, also close in several events. Like, Discraft has quite the lineup here of 1 new signing and then 3 extensions that they could have potentially 5 of the top 10 players if they could all put together, which I don't doubt Corey. I really don't doubt Aaron, because I think they proved it more with how well they did at some events last year. But Anthony, Ezra, will they get top 3 finishes the way that Aaron and Corey did this year? Time will tell. And then on the FPO side, Holland Hanley signs a new 1-year deal with Discraft. Next up, from Dynamic, we have a 1-year extension for Zach Melton. Well liked. I don't blame Dynamic for re-signing him. I think his stuff probably sells pretty well. Also, Jake Kiebenheimer signs a new 1-year deal with Latitude. So I think that's Latitude's only new signing. I think they had 2 extensions, if I recall correctly. But they did pick up Jake Kiebenheimer as a new signing. I guess helping to fill the void of Emerson on the MPO side. And then lastly, Madison Walker signs a 1-year extension with MVP. So I guess Simon's not the last news related to MVP. So Madison Walker on the FPO side will be with MVP for another year. And I think that's all of the updates I had. Obviously, this video is focused on Simon and the massive news that is him going to MVP. But certainly if there is any additional news coming out, I will cover it. But I think with Simon signing, that might be the last pin to fall in the offseason before the season starts here in just over a month. So thank you everyone for